Welcome to the Business Spotlight. My name is Jada Walker. I am your host for today's conversation, and my guest today is Benjamin Haugh, the owner of All Nation Restoration. We'll be talking about his business, journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek of what it's really like to own and operate a business. So, Benjamin, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'd love for you to give us a little bit about your background of who you are and tell us a little bit about your business as well.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us. It's going to be great. So my name is Benjamin Howe, and I was born here in Austin. I lived in Austin till I was 10, and then my parents moved, up to the Waco area. Um, and I came back to Austin at 16, and uh, I ended up kind of bumping into a guy that gave me a job. It was kind of one of those, lost kid looking for something to do, constructive,
Mhm.
and trying to start my life. he he gave me a job, and he actually did remediation, water damage, fire damage, mold remediation. And I had a bit of a rough childhood, and so education was something that I really struggled with. Reading, writing, just general literacy. And I learned about remediation through him. And it's interesting because he had struggled with a lot of the same types of sort of issues with reading and writing.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people have maybe learning disabilities like ADHD or dyslexia, and they don't end up getting
Yeah.
the help that they need. And I think he was one of those people. And he pulled me aside one day and he was like, "Look, if you work really hard and treat customers with respect and learn the industry, you don't need an education to go far. You can actually accomplish the American dream with just hard work." you
Yeah,
know
no, that's so true.
yeah. And I saw what had done, and I was able to really connect with him, from the standpoint of the struggles with reading and writing and general literacy. And so, man, I kind of really bit into the industry. I loved the industry, and I also like the element of helping people. I think for me, sort of being there for people at their worst time, in sort of their moment of crisis, when their house caught on fire, or a pipe broke and flooded out their home, or they're
Yeah.
facing a mold remediation that's displacing them or something along those lines. It gives you a lot of satisfaction to be the one that comes in and actually starts to sort of ease those concerns and those fears and kind of calm them, and then give them that path back to normalcy. And
Yeah.
I think I found a lot of healing in the remediation space because my childhood was far from normal and difficult. And I was seeking that sense of normalcy in my own life. And so sometimes I think the best therapy that you can receive is really through giving, and and
Yeah.
more, and kind of coaching people in their own little struggles, and then kind of taking your own advice, more or less, like, hey, there's a path to becoming a normal person. There's a path to buying a home and starting a family, and being successful. And I know for me, starting out like as a young child, if when people ask me like, Ben, what do you want to be when you grow up? I didn't say, a firefighter or a trash truck driver, or what, the typical little boy thing.
Like the typical thing that any kid would think to say.
Yeah, I would always just say that I wanted to be a husband and a father.
Oh.
And that goal for me, I wanted to achieve that goal, but I wanted to do it at a time in my life when I was ready, and
Yeah.
and not end up bringing kids into a world that was as chaotic as the world I was brought into. And
Yeah.
so that dream was so far away from me. And so when somebody gave me a little sliver of kind of like, hey, if you work really hard and you pay attention, you can overcome some of the things that have held you back in your life, like reading and writing and your general education, and you can start to put those pieces together and build something that will allow you to responsibly start a family. That was a huge motivating factor for me.
I love that. Like that's it. Yeah, it's like I was gonna say, it's very motivating to someone who thinks like they can't have these certain things in life, and then literally someone comes in your life and tells you that you can, or like just even if they have the same struggle as you, they show you like they have that life already. It just
Yeah.
makes you like it's like something just clicks in your head, and you're like, oh no, I can actually do it just like you. I love that. That's
Yeah.
really
It was
cool.
it was kind of the first thing that like the industry was perfect for me, but and helping people was therapeutic for me. But
Yeah.
just being told by somebody that had kind of gone through the same struggles, like you absolutely can do this if you work super hard and are dedicated, then it made all those sort of long nights and being on call. Because one thing about our industry, remediation, is you're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw that on your guys' website. I was like 24/7. I almost needed to call you guys at one point for my apartment. Actually, I still think I need to call someone. I think there's like some mold somewhere in our house. Like I swear there is. So I need to get a hold of you.
Well, I'll come out and do it personally. I'll look at it. So
Yes, I would love that. Okay, so to set the stage for our viewers and listeners, generally speaking, what does your current ownership structure look like? Are you the sole founder slash owner, or are there any outside investors that come into play?
yeah. So kind of going back to our origin story, um, when I was working for this company,
Mhm.
that it was definitely structured pretty poorly. I'll be honest. It
Okay.
was really kind of a sole proprietorship that was focused around the yellow pages. The name of the company was A hyphen best. So it was a yellow page directory company. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we were all subcontractors. And so it was definitely the Wild
Oh,
West. Yeah. I mean, I was treated and I act like an employee and stuff when I was working for A best. But I was being paid commission on a commission structure, and we were being paid and sort of claimed the typical, you're a subcontractor game. And I
yeah.
was I was dating a girl at the time, and her mom was a bookkeeper, and her mom asked me like, Ben, how does the structure work, right? Your business, how are you making your money stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, they're paying me, and a lot of times it was cash and stuff like that, and she said, well, you're not paying taxes. And I was like, I don't know. And at this time I was like 17, 18. I was like, I don't
When
know.
you're that young, you really are just like,
No, I just
the
didn't know.
money's in my hand. That's all I
Yeah.
need.
And she's like, no, you're a subcontractor, which means you have to pay taxes.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, she was like, I'll help you. And I was like, no, because if anything was to happen between me and your daughter, like I lose my bookkeeper too.
Right.
And she laughed. She was like, no, you wouldn't. I'm I'm an adult. Like I can do your books. So she assured me that if something happened between us, she would do my books. And so I actually DBA'd the company originally as a partnership between her daughter and myself. And the girl I was dating, she did a lot of odd stuff, odds and end jobs, and some stuff like that. So she had some subcontracting money coming into. So we were
Okay.
running it through All Nation collectively in order to pay taxes on it. And so that was the founding story. Is really it was just the ability to pay taxes and have my books done.
Wow.
Yeah. So as most things in the world, things wound down and came to an end between us, and amicably. And as a woman of her word, my bookkeeper kept doing my books. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Is she
And
like still your bookkeeper like to this day?
she's retired at this point,
Oh,
but she's still my friend. I mean, she
well,
calls
that's
me,
nice.
we talk and stuff. And so, yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. But, but when her daughter and I separated,
Yeah.
there was no interest. Her daughter had no interest in pursuing remediation, and at that point, it really wasn't a business. And so at that point, I re-DBA'd the company and just went as a LLC, sole owner LLC.
Okay.
That has remained a constant up until current day. We don't have any partners. I don't have any partners with the company, and or equity split, and I also have no investors. Um,
Okay.
we So that was the only shift in the company. Um, we've been in business for 16 years on the 14th one.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been a long time. I saw like congratulations,
Thank you.
actually. Yeah,
So,
that's amazing.
but
So
yeah,
when
no
you look,
partners.
that's great. That's awesome that you and it's been 15 years. Like that's crazy. Wow. So when you look at your role, how many hours do you spend in your business, like the job part, and then how many on the business, like strategy and planning, stuff like that?
So it's interesting. I break it for me. I break it into a couple different categories, and it is
Okay.
what I would consider being in a supportive role to the business. So doing things that actually physically help people. that worked for me. So stepping into a situation where I actually go to a project, or I make a difficult phone call to a customer that might be upset or something along those lines, and resolve things. So where I sort of step into that role, and I probably do that about 20 hours a week, where
Okay.
I've had to put a boundary on the amount of time because it would end up consuming sort of every waking moment if I let it. And that way it kind of, our project coordinators and our management team here at All Nation kind of know that elevating something to the point where, hey, like I really need help with this. Like I have this customer is not understanding this protocol, or feels like that, the job is off the track. And we've tried to explain it to this person, and she's not understanding it, or he's not understanding it. Sometimes people just demand to get to the very top of whatever the situation is. Like,
Yeah.
no, I got to talk to the owner. So there's those times. It's rare, but there's those times. But then also just what I would consider support roles, giving back within the company support roles. So um, sort of easing guys, if the guy's behind on a project, or he needs something delivered to him or something like that. So because I want to stay interactive with my employees. Um,
Yeah.
then I would say I spent about another 40 hours in what I would classify as development. And that's where I'm really thinking a lot of what are our next steps? How are we going to achieve them? What are things that we need to take away or subtract from our current model that would sort of make big changes? Like
Yeah.
you can send, and I think everyone's fallen into this trap that's ever run a business, but you can micromanage all your guys' gas cards, right? And it can take
Mm-hmm.
20 hours to make sure they're not buying an energy drink. Or you can,
Right.
right? Or you can just restructure. Or you can just come up with an idea, a plan. Okay, you might be able to move somebody into a position in the warehouse and give one gas card, cancel the other gas cards. That way, you're not auditing all of those individual cards. And then,
Right.
that person gets every van ready, comes in really early, gets every van gassed up, cleaned out, stocked with the supplies that need to go specifically to that job. And that way, we cut down on some of those misappropriation things. We cut down on the time that
Right.
would be associated with auditing all of those, say, credit cards. We cut down on the amount of time that guys are trying to get their own supplies in the morning, and kind of the hubbub, chickens running around trying to figure out how to get out the door. So you can get efficiencies kind of underway, and you can assign it to one person. And I think that those type of development strategies, uh, I probably spend about the 20 hours a week on that.
Man.
And then
I like how you're just really in your business. Like you don't find a lot of people that are just like really active in their business. They're just like, I hand it off to someone and that's it. Like they don't really care. But I like you're like really hands on.
well, I don't know. So sometimes I think I'm doing it wrong, like in a certain sense, like um, because I see it a lot. I see a lot of very absent owners, and I think in my mind and my heart, I think, how in the world do they step away and kind of leave people without any sort of
Right, because I'm like I'm a nosy person. I need to have like at least like I need to know something about my business if I were to have one. Like, but there's people that literally just run the business and just collect the money, and they're just like whatever, someone else runs it for me. I don't care as long as it's going up.
which is cool. I think the interesting piece for me is, well, a thought that I have in regards to sort of that idea is if that's, I wonder sometimes if that's more the perception that's given as an image.
Maybe.
Because my thing is if I was able to run a company completely hands off here, and
Mhm.
then why wouldn't I just go start another company and scale back to the same
Right.
point and be completely hands off? Like the rinse and repeat idea. I don't understand, and I don't see a lot of business owners that are in that hands-off position. I don't see them rinsing and repeating. I see a lot of people in real estate rinse and repeat. So they'll go from 20 houses to 50 houses. You're like, that's awesome, but they're also working it as a full-time job. And so I just don't know. I think a lot of there's a trap, and I don't want to speak for everybody, of course, but
Right.
but I think ego. I think one of the biggest things that destroys businesses is pride.
Yes.
And because what it takes to grow and scale and run a company is tremendous. It's unbelievable. The sacrifices that are made are unbelievable. And from the outside, if you've never done it, looking in, there's an expectation that's put on business owners, and I can speak to this
Mm,
completely, where people expect the lifestyle, your home, what you drive, everything, your vacations, they expect it to reflect your sort of your success, or
yeah.
mirror the sacrifices that you've made. And when they don't, and when you're honest and you're like, I'm still here every day working my ass off, and focusing on the business, and trying to grow this not just as my own benefit, but also for the benefit of the people that are employed with us and are working with us. I think it becomes this disappointment sort of to friends and families that are expecting to see this
Yes.
lavish lifestyle. I have said this for a long time, and it's that companies kill people. I, I unfortunately know quite a few business owners that grew businesses, and they killed them. It led to suicide, or it led to
Oh,
overdoses
wow.
or collapse sort of in the structure, because and I believe a lot of it is so much pressure, outside pressure put on them by family and friends, and favors,
And just like social media now makes it seem like you're supposed to be living like this lavish life if you have like all this money, but it's like you really don't have to. You just need to live within your means.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard when the expectation, and there's so many things, and I've tried hard to analyze these things over the years as I've owned my company. But it's like you can talk yourself into certain purchases or certain lifestyle choices as a way of marketing, right? Like, well, if
Mm-hmm.
people look up to me, they're going to remember me. If people look up to me, they're going to use the company, wherever the situation is. And I see a lot of people that have gotten into tremendous amounts of debt sort of on that model. And also the idea that there you can grow your company to a point where you just step away from it and let somebody else do it, and that becomes a lifestyle perk. I think the
Mm-hmm.
pride in conjunction with the desire for lifestyle perks is probably I would say one of the I'd say it's a huge reason. That you've heard people say like cash flow kills companies, and my question is well, I agree with that. My question is where's the cash? And I think in a lot of cases it's going into those lifestyles, those
Mm-hmm.
car payments, those vacations, so on.
Yes.
And so
And then like that's when people it's just like it kind of just goes downhill from there.
yeah, yeah, and I think also when you're trying to impress your family and your friends and keep up with that, you're also creating such a sort of chasm within your own culture in your company,
Yeah.
where people that are really carrying so much of the weight, they look at you running around driving your sports car and going on your Europe vacations or whatever the deal is, and they think this is really unfair, and they're really kind of right. It's really kind of unfair, right? And I think a lot of business owners that I've known that have dealt with the type of stress that ended up killing them, will say
Mm-hmm.
things like, yeah, I understand that my lifestyle looks like this, but you don't understand the stress that I'm under running this company. And
Right.
I think a lot of that stress is self-induced, because they're making
Yeah.
bad decisions. They're taking the profits from their business, and they're pursuing this sort of this sort of lifestyle game. Um,
Yeah.
and then they're dealing with the anxiety if I spent all the money and payroll's coming up or whatever the situation is. The shell game starts, and when you can't play the shell game anymore, you would have to face the music and in your company and in your personal life and with your friends and families. And I think a lot of times what I've seen, unfortunately, is when it comes time to pay the fiddler, and all too often when these guys and girls are way too young, um, they can't, they won't, they refuse. And that's why I say companies kill people.
Yeah.
No.
No, I definitely agree with that. But so before we get to the nitty gritty of the wow, I can't speak. Before we get into the nitty gritty about your business itself, let's look into your background a bit and what led you here. So why did you choose to go into business for yourself as opposed to just working for someone else instead for like the rest of your life?
Um, I guess that's a multi-layer question, because the company that I was working for went out of business. They right after the
Oh,
Yellow Pages quit really producing any sort of.
yeah.
They went out of business, um, and I had put my absolute heart and soul into, and I think out of self-preservation, I was really scared about the idea of even looking for another job, and so I really, really wanted. ABES to not go out of business. And I could see the warning signs, and I fought
Mm-hmm.
really hard to make it, I cared about it, and I did not want to go out of business. And in doing so, I ended up wearing so many different hats in that company. I ended up buying vehicles with my personal money that were used within the company
Oh, wow.
to facilitate jobs and get things done, as well as equipment and so on and so forth. So I rolled so much money and time and just additional effort that I was never compensated for into trying to keep the
Oh,
well, but it ended up paying. I mean, I did get compensated in the end because
yeah, yeah.
when they blew away,
At the time, it's like like totally get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't view it that way. I never viewed it that way.
Well, good.
Yeah, I always viewed it as this was my job, and I needed to make sure that we were successful as a team, and I needed that job really bad. I did not want to start over with another job.
I really like that mentality because I'm not gonna lie, I would have been the person been like, what in the heck am I doing? Like, why am I doing all of this for this company and like it's failing? I definitely would have been in that mindset.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I just viewed it differently.
Good.
But I did
It
everything
obviously worked out for you, so that's good.
well. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was meant to be because I don't. There
Yeah.
was. I see I've had people over the years that have worked for me, and they'll get to this breaking point with management or frustration over the deals, and they say, I'm going to go do it basically better. I'm going to exit your company and go start my own company, and
Mm,
it's never worked. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if it's because I've hired employees that aren't capable of owning or running their own company, but it has never worked, not one time.
Yeah.
And I guess people have asked me this question, like, what was your point that pushed you into business? And it was interesting. It's interesting because it was circumstances, but
Mm,
what it wasn't is arrogance. I never got to the point where I thought I could do it better than my boss. I never got to the point where I
I
thought I
like
was
that.
going to make more money than my boss. I I I tried to save his company till I mean, the IRS put a padlock on the door, and they told us, like, you can get these trailers out of here if you're going to use them to continue to make money. That
Oh
was,
no.
yeah, that
I'm
was
just
the,
like such in shock. Like I don't know how I would have handled it. I probably would have been crying, but that's me. That's just me.
it was a tough time. It was a tough time.
Yeah. Ends up being better. And sorry, I was like in the middle of writing what you had said.
No, you're good. Yeah, I just
Aw.
didn't want to put when that happened. I found myself kind of in the situation where I had done so many integral things within that company to save it. So buying equipment, buying trucks, starting, there's something called a plumber referral program where you go talk to plumbers because a lot of times people don't know about our industry and they have a broken
Mm-hmm.
pipe that floods their house. The first thing they call is the plumber. So there's something
Yeah.
in our industry called a plumber referral program. It's just a referral game that you play with plumbers where you give them kickbacks, and they'll plug you on jobs. They'll recommend you on
Oh,
jobs
that's cool.
when there's a water damage or something like that. So I had started doing that for the company and had built a really good relationship with a lot of plumbers. And so when ABES got to the point where it couldn't stand anymore and it kind of blew away, like by the time it blew away, it had no weight. There was nothing really to sue or anything along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
What was kind of left under it blowing away was really the integral pieces of what I had built. And that's kind of interesting because it's almost like uh, it's almost like if a cancer could grow in you and then you die and the cancer becomes it becomes its own being, right? That's almost what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't an intent to like take it over, control, or own. I mean, I remember when they went bankrupt, and the
Yeah.
IRS was looking through things like, yeah, but this isn't our equipment. This isn't our truck. This is in his name. Like all of a sudden, this line started to be drawn right through the middle of ABES, and it was like, that's not ours. That's his.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I was working for, he was older, and he didn't want to restart the company. He was done. It was over. And so
It
also
was like just basically just straight over for him. He
it
just
was
said,
over.
whatever.
And
Okay.
I looked around, and all of a sudden I had this name that my uh, ex mom, my bookkeeper had sort of helped us set up, and I had
Mm-hmm.
vehicles that I had bought to help, not to overrun his business, but to help.
Right.
I had equipment that I had put the money up for to get because we needed new equipment. And I had done the plumber referral program thing in his company. So I knew all these plumbers that would refer work to us. And it was
Yeah.
kind of like all this aha moment, right? And I had just turned 18 and it was,
That young?
yeah,
Wow.
I just turned 18 and I kind of looked around and I was like, okay, so I actually legitimately have a business. Like, what do I need to do? And I was thinking in my head, maybe go get another job. But it was like 2 seconds later, my phone ringing. It was a plumber, like, hey, I got this lady. She has this. I got this guy that his water heater broke, and I look at it. There's a van and there's equipment and whatever deals. And I was like, no. And so I knew at that moment that I needed to stop spending money because at one point I was making a lot of money working
Hmm.
there, a significant amount
Right.
of money, and I was spending it on dumb things, cars and
Right. Of course.
watches.
We're young and
Yep.
everyone does stupid stuff when they're young.
And I just decided it's kind of, I remember standing in the parking lot of that warehouse when it was over. And I remember just dawning on me, like, I actually own a business. I didn't try to, I didn't think I could, but I do. And I decided that my life needed to change. And I sold everything I had. I had spent so much money on things I collected. I have a collector brain. So like all these collections that had meant a lot to me and watches and you name it, cars and stuff, and nothing like Lamborghinis or anything like that, but like a Corvette and that's kid stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking to myself, this is never going to get me to my true goal. And then sort
Right.
of simultaneously, my fiance, actually at the time, my bookkeeper's daughter, she couldn't handle kind of the stress and the downgrading of my finances and so on and so forth. And we ended up separating. And I literally thought, you know what, I know that starting the company is going to be really expensive, and I didn't have any
Yeah.
financial backers or family or you know money. So I went on this like selling. I figured I sell everything, put everything back into the business, and then I need to lower my expenses. And so I bought this FEMA camper, one of those ones that they like give people when their house is torn apart. And
Hmm.
there was a RV park down in East Austin. It's not there anymore. It's called Midtown RV Park. And I put my camper there, and I made myself a promise that I wasn't going to move out of that camper until I could buy a house in Austin with cash. And I spent the rest of the money that I wasn't saving to buy a house. I spent it on equipment, trucks, and I didn't date anymore. At that point, I was like, that needs to be for later. Right? I gotta focus on this. And I lived in that camper for close to 3 years. I think it was like 2.5 years. And
Wow.
I did. I saved up the money and I ended up buying a house in Austin
But
outright.
it's nice that like it feels like 2, 3 years. That's not even that long.
It
Like it's long when you're in that time. But like looking back, I'm like, that's not that long. Like that
is
was really
not.
fast.
It did, and that's the thing I would encourage people to do is if you can start a business and you have the drive to do it 100%, and you're willing to not care what people think about you and get into all those traps of like lifestyle traps, and you just go all the way with it. And I think the trick is lower your expenses as low as you possibly can, work as hard as you can, and stay away from distractions. I remember being in that camper, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it was not fun. And I was a young guy that had been dating and stuff, and I wanted to be dating, and
Right.
that wasn't really
And a lot
feasible.
of women, like, they're like a trailer. Like, you want to take me to a trailer?
I didn't even try. We'll just put it that way.
Oh.
No, I mean, but not in a bad way. But it wasn't. It was that all of that leads to a story, if that makes sense. Like I
Hmm.
meet some girl out at a bar, and I'm living in a camper. I've got to tell her
Oh, no.
sort of promises, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm gonna be successful and all of these things, and nobody wants to do that, and nobody wants to hear that.
Nope.
And so, yeah, and so it wasn't that I didn't think I could get a date. It's that I didn't want to lie. I didn't want to pretend.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do any of that, and I really just wanted to focus like really hard on what was important. And I had realized that when I had gotten into that relationship that I was in, yes, I met Mary, which was the bookkeeper. I had put the cart before the horse in what my true dreams were of of being secure and starting a family and so on and so forth, I felt like I had gone about it backwards. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to backtrack. But lowering the expenses was the absolute key piece. And I remember one time, like it was difficult. And I remember one time I did this job downtown in one of those really awesome towers, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a pamphlet on the counter, and it was like rent was like $2,000, I think. And because it was a brand new build, and this was years ago. And I remember thinking
Yeah.
to myself, $2,000 a month, that's easy. I can easily do that with my savings and my income and everything else. And it would be a huge motivator for me not living in that camper and actually living downtown in a really nice place and being able to go down to restaurants and and I country
Yeah.
danced, and it was like a block from like this country dancing bar that I like to go to. Um, and I almost talked myself into it. And I went down to the bank, which probably wasn't smart, but I pulled $24,000 out in cash and I put it in a bank envelope, and I hid it in that camper. And every time I felt like super depressed and upset and like down on, I felt bad about myself. I mean, I didn't even have a personal vehicle. I drove a van, like a work van,
Mm-hmm.
and lived in a camper
Yeah.
in East Austin. And people said some stuff about it. Like there was plenty of people that had things to say, like my dad
I'm sure.
was like, "Are you using?" And I'm like, I've never had a history of
Oh
using,
goodness.
like ever.
Well, you're like, where is this even coming from?
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm trying to not live a lie, and pretend to be
Right.
rich. And I remember just getting that envelope out, like at kind of my lowest moment, and looking at it, like, do I want to give all this away in 1 year? And then be faced with an increase in rent, because that's always how it works when there's a new building. They then bump your rent.
Right.
And do I want to spend probably this much money again furnishing it? And then be looking at, I'll never want to go back to that camper if I've been in that nice high rise deal. And I'd put the money,
Right.
I would make the decision to make the sacrifice. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would say is running a company, being married, staying married, raising children. It takes a sacrifice, and you have to choose to make the sacrifice. And starting a business is no different. It's a choice. It's a choice to forgo the lifestyle things, the lifestyle perks, which I think are heavily driven by arrogance and pride, and make the decision to be responsible and put the money back in and let the money grow.
Yeah. No, I love all of that. Okay, so let's move on to what makes your business so special. So, who primarily does your business serve? If I were in the audience, how would I know that I'm a good fit for your service?
Um, I think the thing that makes us unique about our structure and the business is we serve everybody. So we don't have a target market from the standpoint that our target market is anybody that is in need, anybody that is struggling. We do a lot of work with foundation communities here in Austin, which, by the way, is an amazing organization. I shout them out every chance I possibly can.
And you said,
And
what was the organization? I'm sorry.
it's called Foundation Communities here in Austin.
Foundation Communities. I'm
And
gonna have to look that up.
they serve a lot of underprivileged people. They do a lot of work with the homeless and people that are struggling. And so, like, I don't care if your house is worth, $25,000 and is a shack, and your kid is
Mm-hmm.
mold, we can help you. Or if you're one of those people that has done well in life and your house is worth $20 million on the lake, we can help you. And
Right.
we don't have a split through the company of different packages or different services. Like when our guys show up, it's in the same vehicles with the same attitude, the same dress codes, and the same level of respect. And that's for us, I think, the respect that we show people, because we have the one thing about restoration that a lot of people wouldn't think about is how vulnerable people are that are in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to clean your house. You don't have time
No.
to put away the dishes. When
Right.
you get to see it exactly how it is, you get to see it exactly how it is. But I think throughout my life, the people that have meant the most to me are people that protected my dignity and did not disrespect me or hang me out when I made mistakes. And the culture
Yeah.
that we've tried to create here, not just for our customers that are in a very vulnerable spot, but also for our employees, is dignity is the key. Respect and dignity is the key to growth for me. And it's the way that I want to be treated. So it's the way that I treat the people that work for me. And it's the way that I treat the people that we serve, regardless of who they are or how many zeros they might have in their bank account. Or if the job is really not, there's houses you work in there, it's absolutely beautiful. It's perfectly AC'd and perfectly cleaned and is amazing. And there's houses we work in that they're tough to work in. It's a good idea
Mm-hmm.
to wear PPE gear.
Have, oh wait, I think I just kind of froze.
Company.
Okay, sorry, I kind of like froze, but
That's
I
okay.
still like could hear you. I was just like, oh no. But I had a question. Oh, so if let's say like you have someone who is a little like doesn't have as much money, what do you do for those customers? Like would like let's say they can't pay you like that day or whatever, like what would you do for them?
Yeah, so super easy. I can answer that really easily. So one, the good part about our industry is the vast majority of it is insured. And so the
Oh, cool.
biggest hurdle is knowledge. It's how to engage with your insurance company, how to make sure that you tell them the right thing. Because a lot of people that might not have as much money or might be underprivileged, they might also lack just the general information or skills that it takes to navigate the insurance. And I'm not saying this
Yeah.
as a whole, but there's times that the insurance company takes advantage of those people that
No, they really do.
they leverage them. And I think being that sort of the foot in the door for those people and say, no, that just because this is an elderly man that doesn't have the most clean bathroom and isn't up to date on maintaining all of his things on a routine schedule, like maybe some people in more affluent areas, doesn't mean that you get to walk in here after 40 years and deny his insurance claim and leave him in a house with mold growing. Absolutely not. And so
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is good. I think some of those people, it's going the extra mile and
Mm.
really being an advocate for them with their insurance company and just showing like, hey, this is what's fair and this is what's not. Of course, we also offer payment plans. We'll be very flexible with people on that. And then um, there is also a lot of ways that we work with other organizations like foundation communities, and there's some other ones too
Oh, not. Yeah, yeah.
that will step in. I know during like major events we also donate time and equipment to, like, when the storms hit Texas. I know this is cliche because pretty much everybody did, but like most
Yeah.
companies, which was so amazing to see, we also got involved in the same thing where we stepped up to the plate and supported you know people,
Nice.
and other companies that were supporting people like P. Terry's. They donated all their profits and like
Yeah.
so
I remember whenever they did that, I was like, at first, I totally forgot about it the day that it was happening. But then I think me and my boyfriend, we wanted to go to P. Terry's, and like the line was so long. So we were like, oh, like we'll just go late. And then we were like, oh, yeah, today's the day when they're donating all the money. Like, duh, we're going to be
yeah,
busy all day.
but we I don't want to take away from their thunder, but we did our own version of that type of
Well,
thing.
that's cool.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
yeah, but I'd say the biggest area is really the additional time that's put in with helping walk our clients through that sort
Yeah.
of situation and understand the insurance.
Yeah, because like I used to work in leasing, and I would have some of my residents, they would come in and ask us like certain things about their apartment, and like we couldn't help them, but I would be like, if you call your insurance company, they will help you. I didn't know what to tell them to tell the insurance company, so that I
Sure.
wasn't like a help with there, but I'd be like, if you just call your insurance company, they can definitely help you. So
Yeah,
yeah, I like that.
absolutely.
But I like how you would know, like you'd be able to tell someone, hey, you say this, like, and don't let them screw you over, basically.
Yeah, but
That's
we'll
really cool.
even we'll even meet with the insurance company. So like,
Oh,
well,
that's cool.
yeah, I have literally filed people's insurance claims with them on speakerphone, sitting on their couch,
So nice. Wow.
and then
I'm
advise
like, I
them.
need you in my life.
Well, I mean, we're happy to help. I think a lot of things, like the insurance company will look for situations to avoid paying in certain times. So they have a lot of clauses. Like one of them is, like a sudden and one time loss is one of the big
Hmm.
ones. It needs to be an event, like a traceable moment event that occurred. And
Okay.
a lot of times, some of these properties that are maybe underappreciated, or some of the community that's maybe elderly or what have you, you might have a faucet that's starting to fail or an angle that's starting to fail, and you can
Hmm.
see a very defined and clear area where it's very damaged. You might have a little bit of mold like in an area, and they missed it.
Hmm.
They didn't see it. They didn't go in that bathroom over the deals. But then that valve failed. Boom. and flooded the entire house. And there's a distinct difference between the damage that happened as a one-time sudden deal and that small little area that
Right.
was impacted for a period of time. An insurance company can come in and say, oh no, this was an ongoing and long-term leak. We would say, no, it was. And you don't have to pay us for the cleanup right here in this bathroom around the toilet. We'll handle that privately with the customer, right? Or waive it or whatever the deal is. However, you cannot deny this entire situation that made the house unlivable because that was a one-time and sudden discharge of water, those type of things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
That's nice to know. I'm like, I feel like I know a lot from working in leasing, but like talking to you, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm learning so much more that I wish I would have known while I was leasing.
absolutely.
Like that's so cool.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was been my whole life. So
Yeah.
my whole life.
So what is one thing that you wish more people knew about your business?
I would say that it exists. Um, the I remember back when I was dating, I remember being asked, or so what do you do for work, what have you? And I'd be like, water damage, fire damage, mold remediation, and trauma cleanup or deals. And they're like, eh, all of those things went over their head except for the trauma cleanup, right? There's like that crime scene cleanup movie that had come out probably in like 2005 ish,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone had seen it. And so like I stopped even telling people about the water damage, the fire damage, and the mold remediation, and I just went to like crime scene cleanup. That's what I do
Yeah.
because it was like, okay, relatable. So the thing is, a lot of people, they don't know that the industry exists. It is a massive industry. I mean, the amount of companies out there, there's
Yeah.
probably 200 companies in Austin. And a lot of people just, when they have that water damage or that fire damage deal, they don't have any idea the industry exists or what the next steps are or anything. So I think just awareness to the
Yeah.
industry is important because having somebody to call immediately can save property, it can save belongings, it can save money. The faster you get on a disaster, the better. There's a lot of companies, we don't do this, but there's a lot of companies that actually will listen to police scanners and they'll show up with the fire department.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, which is, it can be looked
That
at as
is
a little bit,
crazy.
it can be looked at as a little bit predatory, which is why we don't do it. However,
Yeah,
there's a
I'm
big,
like, that's a lot more work, I feel like, that you have to do. Like,
well, they show up and they'll help board up. We don't do it. I don't feel like that it's exactly who we are. It seems like
mm-hmm.
I say a little predatory. However,
Yeah.
on the other hand, there's a big value to it because a lot of times those homeowners are sitting on their curb, their house just burned, and
Yeah.
they need to go to a hotel, but their house is open. All the windows are broken out. The garage door is cut in half and ripped down by the fire department. And
Oh
so,
wow.
yeah, so the companies will come out
I
like
didn't
right
even think
away
about any of that stuff.
and they'll board it up, plywood, caution tape,
Oh.
and stuff like that. And of course, the goal is hopefully to get the job and, work for the insurance company and make money and stuff, which is
Right.
great. But I think the more people that knew about restoration and knew sort of the steps to take in a disaster as sort of their get ready plan, everyone should have an emergency plan. That would be,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, it's a good thing you're on here so that more people will hopefully know
that's
about you.
right.
If not, I'm gonna go around telling people because I'm like, I know people who need your services. So
Yep.
I'm just like, I'm definitely just gonna go tell them about you today.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So this actually leads me into marketing, which is something that's vital for every business out there, of course, and often an area that business owners struggle with. So I'm always curious what successful businesses are doing. Um, do you know like what percentage of your monthly sales are typically invested back into your marketing budget?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would we 5% is dedicated, gross sales is dedicated back into marketing. And that marketing spans digital, social media, as well as wraps, business cards, a tent for an event or something like that. So it's not just a digital budget, but it
Yeah.
is
I like how you have it all spread out. It's not just literally, it's not just like social media and that's it. Or just like your business card. You're just passing out the business card or face to face, whatever it may be.
yep.
Yeah. And I like how you actually have all that because I've talked to a couple people where they don't do anything for their marketing. So I'm like, that's great that you are actually even doing anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I got so frustrated with the marketing deal,
Mm-hmm.
marketing
It's
agencies.
hard.
Yeah, it's horrible. I actually
Yeah.
started I actually started my own internal marketing group within All Nation.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
And
wow, he's
then,
just doing all the things.
well, then it grew to a certain point where there was so many people that I know, friends and people I know, are like, hey, is there any way that you can kind of, I think marketing, I think bad behavior and lifestyle, chasing lifestyle choices is a big failure piece. But another piece is dedicating money back into the marketing. And,
Hmm.
and so those leads continue to come in. And so uh, I finally and reluctantly decided to start my second company, and it was the marketing, but it grew internally, and so I own RepBlock Marketing, a marketing agency that focuses on service companies here in Austin.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we do digital, social media, web development, some PPC. I'm not a massive fan of PPC personally. Um,
What is that?
Paid ads.
Oh, that makes
Google,
wow,
like
that makes a lot
Google,
of
like
sense.
BBC, like Google,
Yeah,
or Meta. So like Facebook, paid ads, stuff like that.
yeah,
I feel like the paid ads is kind of a treadmill, and you pay to play, and at a certain point, your reputation needs to start carrying that weight. The
yeah,
right, and so if you look up All Nation or any of or RepLock, you can see that we put a massive emphasis on our reputation, the way that we treat customers. I mean, we've been a 5 star. We've never not been a 5 star rated company on all platforms. And
wow, that's
yep,
amazing.
yeah,
Well,
it's
congratulations to that too.
thank
Geez,
you.
I'm like, I remember like when I was working at leasing, we were I don't even know why, but we had to like try and get our Google reviews up for the property. I mean, obviously you want people to Google your property, I guess, and be like, oh, it's a great property. But I was like, I didn't realize how important Google reviews were for like in leasing. I was just like, that's crazy. That's
In everything. I
yeah, everything.
quantifying what a review is worth in a company like ours is difficult, but I've tried. And if
Hmm.
I had to guess, if we stay in business for another 10 years, one Google review today is worth approximately $20,000 in revenue.
Definitely. Because it's like everyone goes and looks at the reviews and tries to be like, okay, which company is best? Like, who am I going to go with? Are they actually nice? Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be dealing with someone that's rude or whatever. Like,
Yeah. And, we've, over the years, we've had bad reviews. We've gotten a bad review, and we have this sort of way of handling it. And it is, we do
yeah,
everything we can to get the review removed by meeting the customer where they're at, listening to their feedback, communicating with them, talking to them, trying to fix their problem. And then if we can't, but sometimes you can't, we give it some time because we don't want to end up in a fist fight with them. We're trading blood
right.
online. So we usually let them cool down and give them some time. And then we just go in and respond to it and say, hey, this is what happened. This is what we try to do to resolve it. We're really sorry they had this experience. And it's interesting because as the world progresses with technology and younger generations are now using technology to find services and stuff, I've noticed more and more
Hmm.
they don't care about the good reviews. They go to the unsubscribed reviews, or the unpromoted reviews, or they go to
Hmm.
the bad reviews and they read those. They don't read the good reviews. They always go read the bad reviews. And so we've
Bad
had,
reviews, they're always like the best ones. It's like,
I
what
I
kind of
know.
story is this? Like,
But
it's always like, are you like, did you make this story up or like this really happened?
Yep. But the thing is, we have so many customers that call us and say, hey, we chose your company over a competitor because of your bad reviews. And so, right, so there's been a lot of times
It's
where,
like your bad reviews were still good, actually.
or they're really bad, but then we respond and we say, hey, like, this is what actually happened, and we'd love to make this right. Please let us know what we can do. And then it shows the customer,
It's because you guys actually responded and
yeah,
tried to still resolve the problem.
there
That's
is
what
no
it is.
business owners that are perfect. There's no businesses that are perfect.
Mm-mm,
We're people.
mm-mm.
We forget things. We make mistakes. We hire the wrong person. Things have
Right.
happened. We have our horror stories like any company. It's what you do about it that this will be the determining factor if your company ends up successful or not.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so moving from marketing to sales, what does your sales process look like?
Yeah. So we we're not always the cheapest
Of
company.
course,
Um, when I
it's like not everyone can always be, you know, that $1 sign company or whatever it is that they do it by
I
on. I think you can see it on Google too, where it says like it's like $1 or like $2 or $3, however much it is.
when the one negative, I'm going to get a little bit sidetracked here, but I think it's important. One negative about remediation is it opens up a door for a lot of dishonesty and fraud
Mm-hmm.
because people are very scared. They're nervous. They're totally stressed out. There's a level of duress. And so
Yeah.
you scare them about mold, you scare them about fire, you scare them about the water damage turning into mold, and you can sell aggressively and take advantage of people in a lot of situations. Which poses a problem if you don't want to be the cheapest and you want to be able to set your own price because of the quality that you're providing. So we're, the insurance, all of our vehicles are owned, they're all lettered and wrapped and maintenance. All of our employees are actual employees. We offer 40 hours a week and benefits, and right. So very typical, but that comes with a cost that some companies skirt with subcontractors and much looser
Mm-hmm.
and faster sort of services. So we don't want to compete with the guy that it's sort of the chuck in the truck on his price because we wouldn't be able to stay in business or hold all of those. We wouldn't be able to create the revenue to hold all of those things that are so important for us to be a good company, reliable,
Right.
marked, clean, background checked people, trained people, if we were competing with the individual running around the truck. However, there's been a concern that I've had to take into consideration big time, and it is fraud. It's I don't want to just open-endedly continue to raise my prices and scare people or put pressure on my salespeople to scare people into signing that contract like now, 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 now. So a lot of businesses that do we do, they rely on this kind of open model of sales when it comes to their employees. So the salesperson ends up being the guy actually doing the job, billing the job, and getting it through to the collections thing. That, and then a lot of times there's a commission tied to that on an individual level. I think that that adds a risk that I've been unwilling to take. And I've seen it personally where you might have four guys that are great, but you might have three that are super greedy and dishonest and will fearmonger that customer and ramp the price up on them and take advantage for that commission check. And so what we've done as a company is we have went on a model where every single job that we do is estimated. So one of the biggest challenges we had is estimating and fast. Nobody wants to call a company out and get an estimate 3 days later. And because of the
Right.
nature of the business, we have to be quick. So if you call the company out, I send one of our estimators out. That estimator it makes 1% commission, and then their base salary makes up everything else.
Okay.
Right. So that 1%
Right.
commission, if that job is a little job, there's no reason to lie and freak out that customer. But when that job is
Yeah.
it's an entire CVS that needs to be worked on, and it's gonna be a $300,000 job, that little 1% is a nice deal for that person to stay focused on that.
Right.
But then because of the fact that we don't want to be cheapest, we don't want to compete with the individual. Not there's anything wrong. I've been the individual in the truck, but I can't compete with them and run a company this size. We have gotten to the point where we can write an estimate within a matter of minutes. An accurate estimate they can go to an insurance company within 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then
Wow.
and then we give it to them with no strings attached. We say, hey, this is the scope that we would do. This is how we would do your project. Here is your estimate. If you would like us to do the work, we can get started right away. If you want to schedule it, we can. If you need time to talk to other people or get other estimates, totally fine. And if you want us to send to your insurance company, we can. And that way,
Oh wow.
it's not this open-ended sort of deal. And then our sales guys do not do the actual physical work. They orchestrate with the team. The team comes in and they oversee the project for them. And that's
It's
our.
funny because I was just about to say, because you said that like they could start basically like ASAP. I was gonna say, do they just start like right after that? But then you just said it was basically the salesperson. So never mind. You
We
already
can
answered my
start.
question.
Yeah, we can start really quick. If the client says yes, I want to get started, and that estimate looks great,
Yeah.
then within a matter of maybe another 30 minutes to an hour, we'd have actual trucks that would
Oh,
come.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really fast. Wow. What the heck?
Well, we gotta be, you know.
I'm really gonna tell my old boss about you because they like we had water damage one time. It was someone's roof. Like they lived on the third floor of this apartment complex that I lived in or that I was working at. And like the people that came out, I swear they did. I don't know. I swear they didn't fix it. It's probably still messed up to this day. But it was like they took forever to get the quote. Like we had to keep contacting them. And I was like, what is the point of us being in contact with this company? Because it feels like it's not going well. Like
Yep.
they're not responding. I don't understand. So yeah, I'm about to tell her about you today.
Well, thank you again. So
Yeah, no problem. I'm like, that's really fat. 5 minutes. What the heck? Okay. Well, back to this. I'm sorry. I that was off
No,
on
you're
a
good.
tangent. So you, of course, you had mentioned having a few team members where possible. I also feel that that's important to address the topic of building a great team. So how would you describe your leadership style in business, and has it changed over the years?
It has changed, and I think all companies go through different stages. Where you go from relying on friends and sort of picking up employees
Mm-hmm.
from your sort of social group and so on. And as your company grows, you start to realize that those were crucial pieces, but they weren't necessarily the best options.
Yeah.
And you start actually interviewing with a different intent. You start interviewing with, are you the best person for this job versus you're the simplest, easiest person that I can get. When you're dealing with friends and family and stuff as the core piece of your business, your leadership is your leadership ability is really compromised. And I think it kind of
Mm-hmm.
sucks because you have to do it in the beginning, but it really holds you back on actually developing the skills that you truly need to lead a team into a bigger company,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
it's so much personal baggage, it's so much personal relationships, it's so much arguing with somebody that would never normally argue with you. And and that is really tough, right? When you're sitting
Yeah.
across the table from a family member and you're having an argument with them, you have to have a different level of patience and communication and understanding, and a lot of times you end up caving and giving them way too good of a deal on something, or you turn a blind eye to being taken completely advantage of. And something that we have fought hard to grow out of is, we're not a family. I i when i know that sounds crazy because everybody says, oh, we're a family. We're not a family. And I think when you run a small business like that, it's because you have to, and as soon as you can get away from
Yeah.
that, the better. I don't want to be a family here. We're not a family. I don't want to be a family. I think that family hurts people a lot. What I want is to provide a platform where people that work here can have, can buy, can marry, or whatever their dreams are, and have their own family. When you put all of these emotions, these ideas of like, I'm going to create a family business here, I'm going to create a family environment, you are setting yourself up to have very poor leadership skills because you're never going to be able to hone them. And you're going to hurt all of your friends
Mm.
and all of your family, in my opinion, eventually, because there's going to be all that strife and issues. The thing that I would recommend is that somebody, as fast as you can grow past that and get to a point where you're interviewing with intent, is this person the right person for the fit, for the job? Hire that person, and then treating them fairly, treating them with respect, giving them clear-cut goals and boundaries and directives in your business allows your company to grow to a point where you can support that person in going and starting their own family, buying their own home, going on that, they're achieving their dreams, their goals, their investment goals, or going on that vacation or whatever it is, and then you stay out of it. When you have a business that's really small and you're messing around as a family, corporate the corporate path of making money, scaling a company, the dreams, the goals, the sacrifice that a founder has will never match the the person that the cousin, the uncle, the sister, the person you scooped up and stuck
Yeah.
in your business is never going to match it. It's never going to match it.
No.
And if it does match it, you're even in more trouble, because if you scoop up that sister that's just as motivated as you, unless you guys are in like one brain lockstep, there's going to be a rivalry that happens.
Yeah.
And so my thing is simple: is when you start a company, a lot of times you don't have a choice. You hire who is available. You have to
Right.
make all these crazy little deals, side deals. You got to turn a blind eye to being ripped off. You got to do these things. And that is not when you actually that is that when you're in that stage, you don't own a company. That's my opinion. And when you get past that point where you're hiring people based on intent, and those people have a clear cut position, clear cut job, clear cut expectations, and then can pursue their own goals without you meddling in their life to manipulate them to help you get your goals done. Instead, that's when your leadership that's when you actually have a business. That's when your leadership actually starts to become something that you can work on and hone. So how do I
Yeah.
lead differently than when I started? When I first started, I would say that my leadership was more about manipulation. I know that's a terrible word.
Mm.
It was more about strategic manipulation of friends and family that I knew to try to get the company lifted off the ground. And I had no other
Okay.
choice. Make sense?
Yes.
Where it's like, yeah, you can come in at 12 o'clock, noon. And yeah, you look like absolute hell, but I can't say anything about the way you look, right? Because
Right.
you're a sibling, or because I don't want you can't, there's a leverage element. I'm going to quit. I need a raise. I got into trouble and can you come bail me out?
It's
It
like it's a
tears.
lot.
Yeah. And when you get past that point, it gets easier. When you get to the
Yeah.
point where it's like, you're a perfect fit for the job. We'd love to take you onto the team. Here's how it works. And and then it stops being this game, this dance, this deal, and it becomes something where communicating becomes very easy. Becomes very simple. It becomes very enjoyable. I
Yeah.
love the people that I work with. I get along with the people I work with, but none of the people that I work with come to my home, right? None of the
I was just
people,
gonna say that it's like whenever you work with family, it's like you know all of their business, you know their personal life. Like then it's like you're around them 24/7 when you don't really want to be around them. So then
all of
yeah,
it.
like you're gonna clash heads and all of that. But whenever you have people that you're not related to in your company, you don't see them outside of work if you don't want to. Like you're not coming to my house. Like I'm not inviting you over. We're not really friends like that. We work together,
Yeah,
and
and it allows
that's
as
good. And like we can work together and be like just
absolutely.
be together. Like yeah, it just makes
I
sense.
I don't come to work to be these the people that work for me. I don't show up to work to be their boss. I show up to work to support my family. I show
Yeah.
up to work to push my vision forward. I show up to work to create a platform, hopefully, that can be used by other people that work in our company to build the life that they want without me
Yeah.
poking around in it and telling them what they should do differently. And over the years, that's changed for me. I think that getting to that point in a company allows you to really start to scale. It allows you to really start to grow. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest shift from trying to pull all the strings and get the thing up off the ground to a point where the handbook, simple management, clear cut communication becomes really the goal. And
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like your story. I'm like,
Thank you.
man, this is a lot. So whenever what type of training do you have in place for your team members?
Well,
Is it like is it like on the job? I had someone say like it's kind of just like you learn on the job type of thing, but I want to
yeah,
hear what you have to say.
a lot of it. So of course
Okay.
there's different positions, but the majority of the positions that are opened up are actually doing the physical remediation, which is very technical. It's also physical. We have my policy in the company is with the exceptions of a couple things. There's some crimes that I won't hire. If you have a certain criminal
Mm,
record, I can't. Which and it's because we would have to explain to homeowners, at 3 a.m. who we were sending into the house,
yeah.
if that makes any sense. And that's as far as I want to go with it. But and we do a lot of residential. So, um, but we hire indiscriminately. If you walk in the door and you say that you want a job, I don't care anything about you except for okay, cool. And we typically start people out at $18 an hour, which in my opinion
Nice.
is
I feel like
literally,
that's a nice little area. I mean,
in my
especially
opinion,
being go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
in my opinion, it is the base living wage. If you pay
Yeah.
somebody lower than that for 40 hours a week, you're taking money from somebody else. They're sleeping on their
Hmm.
grandma's couch and she's paying the light bill and they're eating out of the fridge. You're taking
Definitely.
you're taking from somebody else if you're paying in Austin below $18 an hour. That's my opinion. And so
Hmm.
our base rate is for a full-time position is $18 an hour. And I think that that is a fair mutual meeting. And then Texas is very fair with us within that 90-day probation period. And
Yeah.
where it's like, you know what, we'll try it. If you're a great person and you like the industry, fantastic. If not, that's okay. So if you walk in the door and we're hiring, there's times where we have enough people and there's not a van available or a seat available. But if we're hiring, you walk in the door, I'll give you the job. Um,
Yeah.
and then you'll run 90 days in as a apprentice. And we'll move you around to different vehicles in that 90 days. So you have a pretty well-rounded kind of experience. And then we'll do some one-on-one training and have you read the handbook. And so that you will know sort of our company values and sort of the do's and the don'ts. There's things that set us apart a little bit. Like we don't use customers' bathrooms. We don't accept tips or food We don't park in their driveway. We don't smoke on their property, vapes or anything else. There's
Oh, nice.
no bad language. Um, we have a pretty high standard for dress code. We never set things on their table, on their countertops. I tell people all the time, our space is from the countertop down, unless we're having a conversation with them. Because when you're working, you're taking off baseboards, you're pulling up flooring, like
Yeah.
you're not working on the ceiling, you're working on the floor. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to take over their space and put drinks and cups and fast food. We don't eat in people's houses. So there's those general, I'd say, just best practices that we go.
Yeah. Like you guys have set expectations and that's how it is.
Yeah, for me, they're all based in just general respect. I don't want you
Yeah.
coming home from work and our truck blocking your driveway and you need to get your kid out of the car and
You
you're,
need to leave or like get
yeah.
in, whatever it is. Yeah.
And so once we feel like that's understood, so $18 an hour coming in, 90 days probation period, then signed off by the lead that you're currently working with. So whoever your lead is, you're currently working with, signs off on you. You need to, during that time, get the tools, and that's their standard hand tools, really simple. Go through our handbook, sign our handbook, and have your uniform. Once that's done, we'll assign you a vehicle and you'll run with your own vehicle, but you'll still run on larger projects that have multiple vans. And that way you're not just going out to an individual project completely by yourself. You're going on a larger project with other teammates, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense.
And then typically a year past that of doing that, then we start actually assigning the technician out to their independent projects and put somebody in the vehicle with them.
Cool. At least it's been like a whole year because I was thinking like it was just like a couple months type of thing. Cause like I don't know, I feel like I'm the person I need to see a lot of people do a lot of things, like literally like see them do it for me to learn it, like a hands-on type of thing. So I like how it's like a whole year of like kind of basically doing something like that instead of it just being like a month or like a couple weeks or whatever it is. Cause yeah, some people they still don't know what they're doing.
No, absolutely.
I like that. That's so cool. Okay, so let's fast forward and look at what's to come next. So where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think that the next 3 to 5 years is going to be what I'm gonna consider the diet phase of
Okay.
our business. So 15 years in, there's been so much money thrown into um, so much money has been thrown into development, almost at any cost. And
Mm-hmm.
and what I would describe as a tax deferrable plan, more or less.
Oh, okay.
We're not a profitable company because of the, we can support ourselves and salary stuff, but we're not a profitable company when it comes to the IRS and paying taxes. We minimize at all costs. We prioritize growth and we minimize our tax liability, and that has been our model moving forward. Um, we have grown to a point in Austin where radical or aggressive growth is not something that really excites me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the next step for the company past 5 years is going to be some sort of acquisition or joining up with another company. And in order to bring in private equity, bring in a bigger strategy, a bigger think tank of people. And so my thought is kind of, 15 years has started from the camper and
Mm-hmm.
gone through the whole just nitty gritty process of growth and throwing money at vans and throwing money at equipment and tons of trial and error and stuff in order to get to this point. I think the next 3 to 5 years needs to be a slimming down model. And it's not a shrinking model, but
Right.
relying on the systems that got us here, reducing ideas or eliminating ideas that are outside of what our target project is, our target goal is. And those ideas weren't bad. Some of those ideas weren't bad, but there's things like, for instance, we have like an excavator and a bobcat. So it's two pieces of heavy equipment, not tons, but
I was just about to say, what are those two? I've literally heard of both of those, but I was like, what is that?
yeah. So they're construction related equipment. So like this,
Okay.
just to give an example, I think they're probably about 80,000 a piece, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Is what we paid for them a couple of years back. The idea was really simple, and it was when a house burns to the point where it can't be salvaged, we would lose that job because we're remediation from the standpoint of like clean up, remediate it,
Mm-hmm.
and like get it put back together. And so we were losing jobs that needed to be completely demoed. And by the time a house burns that badly, the demo is pretty easy because it's pretty much burned down.
Right.
And so we bought that equipment. That was great. We did some jobs, whatever the deal is, but it's not our target. And when your company starts to grow and you have those little side things, in order for you to grow that, it would be create its own crazy division. To scale that up, I need guys that can drive heavy equipment. I need, big hauling trucks. I need to start advertising that line of work. I need to put people in that equipment and have specific insurance for it and stuff. And so you end up building a whole nother business based on that idea if
Yeah.
you track it, right? And if you don't track it and you don't put that pressure on that other idea, that other branch, it typically those assets sit. And what could those assets be doing if they didn't exist and that capital did? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And so kind of my thought is we need to go through in the next 5 years and we need to eliminate things like that. I'm going to sell that excavator, the little mini excavator and the Bobcat. I'm going to take that money and put it back into the actual growth of what we truly do, the vans, the deal. So it's streamlining, kind of coming together and saying that was a good idea. It didn't. It worked if we weren't going to grow any bigger, and it was going to be the one off sort of every couple of
Right.
months. But if as we scale and grow, we can't scale and grow that, and so therefore it's going to always be kind of the redheaded stepchild, right? It's always going to kind of eat up.
Yeah.
It's going to get borrowed too much. I don't know if that was the correct thing to say, but you get what I'm saying.
I love that little saying when people say that. So it's
Okay.
it's so funny.
Um, but then you have an asset depreciating, and that capital's tied up in
Yeah.
that thing, and people want to borrow it. People, oh, I got this thing I need to do. I think the next 5 years is going to be shedding a lot of those ideas or even those mindsets that didn't best serve our true mission forward.
Yeah.
Put that capital back into growth, polish up the rocket a little bit, so that we're not as sort of all over the place and really focus forward. And so that we can find the right company to merge with. I am going to merge at some point or sell. My preference would be a merge in 3 to 5 years with a company that shares the same general values and can bring some capital behind us and some security to put us in a situation where we can move into other cities throughout at least through Texas.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be cool. Wow. Okay, so I know you mentioned something about goals. So, what has been your approach to goal setting, and how many do you like to set at a time?
So I don't like a 5 year plan. I know that a lot of people
Mm,
do. I don't care for one. I think that in my life, too much changes in too fast.
yeah,
I how I like to
it's
do
like
it.
your life can change in a day, and it's
It
like
can,
that goal is definitely not in there.
yeah, and I know that I don't know. There's people out there that have done a lot better than me, and so maybe I should pay attention to how they set goals. But my thought is really simple. Is the beginning of each year, I come up with kind of an overarching goal for the year. What is our goal for
Mhm.
the year? What do we want to look like at the end of the year? What do we want to sort of focus on? So it's kind of a broad idea. Um,
Yeah.
and then those micro goals within that can help us do it. So I look at kind of the biggest problem. So I say, hey, look, like I'll give you an example. Like this year, we had shifted our entire. At one point, we had attempted something where we had moved
Mhm.
our guys from 5 days a week to 4 days a week and split the shift. So they'd either work Friday, Saturday. Sorry, they'd either work uh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or they'd work Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. We had it all
You're like
moved around.
a
No,
set number of days.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. And it was costing the company a ton of money. We had part of our fleet down, you know.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
when the shift, the trucks were assigned, and so the trucks were sitting and so on and so forth. And then guys with gas cards and issues with that, and then supplies. And there was a big merge that happened with a couple big suppliers recently that impacted our business. And so I looked at like how are we buying supplies? How are we tracking supplies? How are we tracking those costs? What is happening with the credit card? And what are we losing on the credit card from just misappropriated funds and spending? And what's going on with the cost of the building here, because it's not cheap, and
Right.
having those vehicles parked. And so, and I think about 5 goals throughout the year need to be changed. And you look at the ones that are going to have the most impact and are going to get the least amount of resistance. And those are the ones that I prefer to start with. And so like we shifted back beginning of the year, probably February, we shifted back the schedule so that it was 5 days a week, 40 hours a week capped. And then we would do bonuses if there's additional time that needed to happen. So shifting that, then shifting our credit card spend back to removing the cards and putting a warehouse person in play so that we can get the vans cleaned out, fueled up, all of the equipment and materials loaded into the vehicle, pulled out, key in the ignition so that when the employee shows up, it's straight out the door to work. Because when you don't do that, it becomes really unfair to the company, but it's also unfair to the client that's waiting
Yeah.
around with, they get here at 8. Then by the time they get their van all loaded up and they stop at the gas station and fuel up and get tacos, and they're showing up at 11 o'clock if it's across town, and then they drop their tools, and start their job, and all of a sudden it's like 12 o'clock out the door, go for an hour lunch, come back. Customer sitting there being like, hey, I took off work all day to facilitate this project, and it's 1 o'clock, and you guys have brought tools to my house, and so
Yeah.
what is the cost associated to the company? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you start looking at it, you're like, no, we have to change this. And so like setting those type of goals that directly impact
Yeah.
the company finances. And I think every year it's amazing how many of those things that you just didn't notice the year before. And
No, really. Especially if like you're someone who doesn't track it or doesn't really know how to track those things, like you're just like, whatever, I don't even pay attention to it. But then like when you have someone who actually like sits down and tracks it, you're like, oh, like
yep.
I actually need to take a look at this.
But I mean, but all of it is uniforms. Like we deal with a lot of chemicals like that have bleaching qualities to
Hmm.
them. And so like the shirts will get just trash. And these guys will trash,
Yeah.
and they show up to the customer's houses looking like hell, and you're like, no, so like
Yeah,
there's
you're
so
like, that's not
much.
what you're supposed to wear.
Yeah, like I bought an embroidery machine, and to produce at a higher level, produce as many uniforms as we could faster and cheaper.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but it wasn't. Um,
I was really about to be like, that's cool, but now you're like, it wasn't a great idea.
no, it was another one of those ideas, that got brought in. But you have to know, you have to have somebody that actually knows how to use it. And sitting there and like, and there's a company out there called Centos. Anybody that's in anything knows about it. Like their uniform,
Hmm.
ten
Yeah.
dollars, $10 per guy per week. Uniforms done. They wash it, they get it back, the shirt gets torn up, done, fixed.
Yeah.
And so it's those type of things. That's a distraction, but it's so easy to fall into these traps with good intent
Yeah. Of
and so on and
course.
so forth.
Especially if like someone talks you into it. They're like, yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
great for you. Da, da, da. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and it can sound great on paper, and it can look good. Then when you actually try to implement it, you see the snags.
Right. Then you're like, oh man, like, yeah, I
And
shouldn't have did this.
yeah, and that's how it is. Forward is always messy, and then you got to come back and clean it up. And so, like, beginning of the
Hmm.
year is like a list of things we need to clean up, and then we're bound to through growth make other mistakes as well. But we clean
Right.
up the
Of
next
course.
year. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you have a really interesting story. As we wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready for them?
sure.
Okay, awesome. So, what is the key to success for you?
Determination.
All right. And then, if you could give one piece of advice to other business owners, what would that be?
If you're thinking of starting a business, start as young as you can. If you already own a business, hold on to as much cash as you can and don't care what people think about you.
I like that. And do you have a book or a podcast that you are reading or listening to right now?
There is a book, and I can't remember the author, but it's called Traction. And
You said it's called what?
it's called Traction.
Traction.
And I'm
And
listening.
what is that one about?
It's about business, like
Oh,
business management, and like setting goals, managing, inspiring, um, putting together sort of the E-suite in your business and
Cool.
yeah, business structure. But so far it's been
Nice.
a good book. It's been a good listen.
Okay. And then this is kind of a fun question. If you had a little bit of magic dust that you could choose to put on one spot of your business and sprinkle it there, where would that be?
Marketing. Marketing.
I feel like everyone says marketing.
Well, it's true. And I have the most
Literally.
magic dust because I have my own marketing company and I could still use more magic dust.
It's like, let's just sprinkle it all over.
That one's a no-brainer.
Okay, so before we get into the final question of the day, could you please share with our audience how they can follow you and learn more and contact you?
Yeah, so my name is Benjamin Haugh, and I have social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can look up All Nation, and you can log on and follow that. I also have a website. It's benjaminhow.com, and so you can find me there.
Um, well, we have come to the final question of the day,
All right.
and that is, what is inspiring to you today?
My family. It's been the corner of everything I've done and why I've done it. And so it rolls from day to day. So tomorrow will be the same answer, but it's always
Oh,
my family.
good. Well, this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed hearing your story. So thank you for sharing. Also, I want to encourage all of you that are watching to save the show and come back and watch it again because Benjamin really did have some great insights for business. And also, do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you can get notifications every time a new conversation drops, just like this one. Thanks to everyone who joined us today, and a special thanks to you, Benjamin, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.